Good morning, children. Today we are going to start with new chapter, chapter number 6, squares and square roots. In this video, we will understand what are square numbers. Also, we will see what are the properties of square numbers. Now, let's first see what are square numbers. Now, observe these numbers. 1, 4, 9, 25, 36 and so on. Just observe these numbers. 1 is obtained by multiplying 1 with 1. 4 is obtained by multiplying 2 with 2. We get 9 by multiplying 3 with 3. We get 25 by multiplying 5 with 5. And 36 by multiplying 6 with 6 and so on. So there is a common pattern in these numbers. These numbers are obtained by multiplying a number by itself. So these numbers are called square numbers. These numbers are called square numbers, or we call them as perfect squares. Right? We call them as perfect squares also because they are obtained by multiplying a number by itself. So, what are square numbers? The numbers which are obtained by multiplying a number by itself, they are called perfect squares. So, in general, we can write A is a square number if it can be expressed as B multiplied by B, where B is a natural number. We can write A as B square. B square means B multiplied by B. B is multiplied by itself. So, a square number is obtained by multiplying a number, a natural number, by itself. I hope the square numbers are clear to you. Now let us move to the next thing. Now here I have written square numbers of squares of numbers from 1 to 10. Now you can see here the number 1. Square of 1 means 1 multiplied by 1 gives 1. Square of 2 is 4, as we have seen up to 6. Now square of 7 is 7 into 7, that is 49. Square of 8, 8 multiplied by 8, 64. Square of 9, 9 multiplied by 9, 81. And square of 10 is 10 multiplied by 10, that is 100. So these are the squares, and here we have written the values. Right? Now we will discuss the properties just by observing the numbers. Now first thing, the first property that we are going to discuss is that the square numbers, they can never end with 2, 3, 7 or 8. Now just see the square numbers. These are all square numbers, right? Just see, observe the units digit. Units digit is 1, 4, 9, 6, 5, 6 again, 9, 4, 1. You will not see 2 here in the units place. You will not see 3 or 7 or 8, right? You will not see 2, 3, 7 or 8. I'll show you the squares of numbers from 11 to 20 also. Just have a look. Now this is square of 11, 121, square of 12, 13 and so on. Now just observe the units digit. 1, 4, 9, 6, 5, again 6, 9, 4, 1, 0. There is no 2 in the units place, no 3, no 7, no 8. So this is our first property, that no square number ends with 2, 3, 7 or 8. So if we are given a square number and we are asked whether it's a square, if we are given any number, just by looking at the number, sometimes we can tell that whether the number is a square number or no, right? The next thing is, the next property we are going to discuss is just observe. Now look here. Square of 2, the units place is 4. Square of 8, the units place is 4. So if a number ends with 2 or 8, the square will always end with 4, because 2 2s are 4, 8 8s are 64. The last digit is 4. So if a number ends with 2 or 8, its square will end with 4. We will see in the other set of square numbers. Let's see. Here, the numbers ending with 2 and 8, their squares will always end with 4. You can see, right? Similarly, the numbers which end with 1, the numbers ending with 1 or 9, if a number ends with 1 or 9, its square will end with 1 always. So if a number ends with 1 or 9, the square will end with 1. Let us check in the other set of numbers. A number ending with 1, 9, the square will end with 1 always. You can see that, right? So this was the next property. Then a number ending with 3 or 7. If a number ends with 3 or 7, its square will end with 9 always. You can see that, right? If a number ends with 3 or 7, its square ends with 9. Let us check in the other set also. 3 or 7, the square ends with 9. Same way, if a number ends with, say, 4 or 6, its square will end with 6 always, right? And if a number ends with 5, its square will end with 5 always. Same ways, if a number ends with 0, its square will end with 0. I repeat these properties which we have discussed just now. If a number ends with 1 or 9, its square will always end with 1. If a number ends with 2 or 8, its square will end with 4 always. If a number ends with 3 or 7, its square will end with 9. If a number ends with 4 or 6, its square will always end with 6. If a number ends with 5, square will end with 5. If a number ends with 0, its square will end with 0. Coming to next. So this we have discussed just now. If a number ends with 1 or 9, the square ends with 1. If it ends with 2 or 8, the square will end with 4. If a number ends with 3 or 7, the square ends with 9. If it ends with 4 or 6, the number ends with 6. If a number ends with 5, the square ends with 5, 0 and 0. Now, one property, as I told you, that if a number ends with 0, the square will end with 0. But here we have to note down one thing, that if it always ends with even number of zeros. A square number always ends with even number of zeros. Like we can see in this example, 10 square if I take, it is 10 into 10, 100. So it is ending with 2 zeros. We have 2 zeros, even number of zeros. Similarly, square of 200 is 40,000. 200 into 200, it gives 40,000. So we have 4 zeros. That means even number of zeros. So whenever you have, say, this type of number, just by looking at the number, you will see that there are odd number of zeros. It can never be a square number. Without doing any calculation, you can simply write it is not a square number because it ends with odd number of zeros. Similarly, this is not a square number. We just don't need to find out. We can just say directly answer. You can write it is not a square number because it ends with odd number of 0, that is 1, right? Now, the next thing is square of even number is always even. If I find square of 12, it is 144. Square of 8 is 64. If the number is even, its square will always be even, and if a number is odd, the square will always be odd. 11 square is 121, again odd. A square of say 13, it is 169, again an odd number. So if square, that means square of an even number is always even and square of an odd number is always odd. Children, this is all about the properties of